today. All right, so let's get started. So once again, welcome everyone. Happy to see so many of you here today. I guess there will be still some more people joining us this morning. And welcome to this session organized by Nordic Inclusify. So today we're going to talk about how to land your dream job in the Nordics. And we have two amazing speakers here, so Vismit and Karel. And they will be sharing very practical tips on how to get started with your job search in Finland. And I think these are very handy and practical tips for everyone, be it that you're a foreigner or you're a Finn or you've been studying abroad or whatever is the case. And as said, this event is organized by Nordic Inclusify. So we are a community of different people from different professional backgrounds who are interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion in recruitment and employer branding and talent management. So basically, we have a Slack group where we discuss these matters, and we also organize these events, as well as do some other events and other kind of opportunities where people can discuss DEI matters in recruitment and employer branding. Our community is open for everyone. So my colleague from the board has posted a link to our Slack group. You're very much welcome to join the Slack group and have a conversation if you're interested in DEI matters. You can also follow us on LinkedIn if you're just interested in staying up to date what kind of events we're organizing. So our events are typically around the DEI topics around recruitment and employer branding. And this event is sponsored by Finder Seekers. So we're a company that's focusing on tech talent acquisition and employer branding. And our aim is to build winning teams for our clients. My name is Sofia Bos. I am one of the board members at Nordic Inclusify and also one of the founders at Finder Seekers. And I'm very happy to be here moderating this discussion and saying these welcoming words here. We have the chat function open all the time, so feel free to use the chat, have a conversation going on there. You can also ask questions there. At the end of the session, we have a Q&A session, so if you have any questions, feel free to post them on the chat, and I will take a look at them and make sure that the speakers will get some of those questions. But warm welcome from my side, and now the floor is yours, Karel and Vismit.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm going to maybe share my screen and then we'll start the actual presentation. So I hope you can see my screen. Can you?
Yes, we can.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm still in the feeling that it's a Monday, but it's a Tuesday. So good morning. It's not a Tuesday, I believe. It's a Wednesday. Okay, so I don't know what day of the week is. My days have been crazy. But good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us so early. And I promise, or me and Karel promise, that you will get something out of this session. My name is Vismit. I am from India. I have been living in Finland since past 2 years. I have a background in recruitment. I've been working in recruitments for over 10 years now, first in India, then in Denmark, and then in Finland now, currently working with Relic Solutions as a talent acquisition specialist, handling tech recruitment here. But prior experience have always been into different segments of recruitment as an agency recruiter or as an in-house recruiter. Outside work, I really like meeting people with diverse cultural background. I like to focus on healthy lifestyle. I'm very passionate about the diversity, equity, and inclusion topics, and that's why I'm also part of Nordic Inclusify. And that helps me create an awareness by myself on this topic and also contribute towards this topic. And recently, I've noticed that I've also taken an interest in mentoring international talents in integrating in Finnish job market. That's not my job, but that's out of interest. I like sharing what I've learned in this market and also in Denmark market, because I was in Denmark for close to 3 years before moving to Finland. That's pretty much about me. Karel, please introduce.
Yeah, welcome everyone. I'm very happy to be here as well. On my behalf, my name is Karel Bélanger. I'm originally from Canada. I have moved to Finland close to 10 years ago now, and I have had a very challenging integration. So 7 years ago, I basically started trying to use what I have learned, trying to integrate both the Finnish society as well as the labor market, and try to help other international to find their own ways here in Finland, both professionally and also out of interest. I have a background in human resources and intercultural communication, and I'm currently working for Finder Seekers as a talent attraction and employer branding specialist, where we are trying to build magnetic employer brand as well. So what is important for you here in this context is I also have been creating spousal program in Finland to help spouses also integrate into the Finnish society. There are different type of international talents, the ones that come to that already has some type of work waiting for them, some that are following, some that are returning. But the main goal is basically for all to find our own place here in the Nordics. So I'm happy to be here and sharing what I have learned both professionally and personally today.
All right, so let's see what we can expect out of this session today. So we'll be covering current situation in Finland, how the Finnish job market is, what labor market integration, what tips and things are required, how you need to integrate in this market, how, what, when, where you can find the employment here, and then also you'll also hear about our stories, mine and Karel, in terms of what learnings we have got in this market and how we have prepared ourselves or integrated in this market. Yes, Karel.
Great. So first of all, we would like to hear a little bit more about your own experience. So there will be a poll at the moment going on. So we want to hear how your experience has been so far on a scale to 1 to 5. So 1 being that you have had a terrible experience, and 5 that you have had a very excellent experience. Another poll that is going is we would like to know, what is your current location? Are you located in Finland to find employment, or outside Finland in the Nordics or elsewhere? So this is something that we would like to, 1, collect data, but also to better present today to you according to our target audience. Yes, the poll can continue while we are continuing. People are getting active. We have some people that are kind of in the middle. We have had people that have had excellent experience, some that have very poor also. So we have a bit of everybody. And then most of the people are located in Finland. Super. Okay, we can continue with Smith. The poll can continue, I guess.
Yeah. All righty. Yeah. Over to you.
Yes. First of all, I would like to kind of have a very quick overview of the employment situation in Finland. So this data has been taken from the statistic of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Employment. And the current job seeking percentage of unemployed people in Finland is up to 10.3% at the moment, which is actually 2% less than it was last year. And if we look, actually, I really like looking also specifically to the foreigners situation. So what I want to bring your attention to is that it is actually 8.4% less than what it was the previous year. And why is it that I would like to look at those numbers with you today? Is because once you move or you're trying to find employment, you need to understand your current situation. Now what we see here is also the economic situation in the world has changed. There has been a lot of different layoffs at the moment. So the unemployment percentage is actually a little bit higher. So expectation management when you're trying to find employment or integrate into a new society is extremely important. You have to understand that it is timely, that there are challenges that you will be facing some challenges, and you need to actually research the market. What is the overall situation at the moment in Finland, and how do I position myself in that market? So this is really important. We can move to the other slide. So once I'm talking about certain challenges that you might face when you're entering the Finnish labor market or a host society, we're talking about scattered information. Have you ever tried to go to a Finnish website to find information and click on the English translation of the website? It is very poorly translated. There are very little information. So sometimes it is very difficult to actually navigate all the information that you need here. Lack of networks. We're talking both social and professional. It is extremely important to build a social and professional network, one in Finland or in any country in the Nordics, basically, because it is the foundation to find employment, but it is also emotional and professional, intellectual bond to the society where you are. Recognition of foreign degree. Very often you have education from abroad, and you need to actually recognize it here. It can be a pricey or a very lengthy process. You might actually have to go and further your education to actually stay working in your field. The language skills, we're not going to lie to each other. The Finnish language or any Nordic languages are not the easiest one to learn, but it is very important in order to feel a bond with the society, understanding why they behave the way they behave, and so on. And unfortunately, there are still some discrimination and inequality that are faced. We're talking about within the recruitment, for example, different biases, but also generally in the society. So these are some of the challenges that you may face when you enter a new society. And what is important to understand is it is normal to face rejections and failures. So, for example, if you have been trying to find employment for many months and then you are either ghosted by companies or you have had rejections regarding this, it actually affects your motivation and then your self-esteem at the same time. And it's very easily you can go and slowly withdraw yourself from the society. And this is a dangerous place to be in this circle. So it is really important to stay and then find ways to keep your motivation up. And one of them is to celebrate small successes, for example. And the thing that now we have looked at the challenges, we understand that it can be very dangerous to stay in the circle. I have met so many people that are really frustrated being where they are at. And then it's very difficult because you do not see any opportunities anymore. You are just focused into your situation. And this is very dangerous in that sense. So that's why today Vismit and I are here to actually give you practical tip into to keeping your motivation up, but also to let you know that it is positive. There are ways to navigate those societies, and there are ways to find employment, and that you can actually keep your motivation up. Yes. Something that very quickly I wanted to go through with you, a lot of my colleagues wouldn't agree to utilize the word integration, but I wanted you to understand the way I see it and the way we see it during this presentation, during this talk. So we see integration as a bidirectional process of mutual adaptation. So both the host society, so Finland or the country in the Nordics you are in, and us migrants. But not only that, it is also a combined efforts of multiple stakeholders. We're talking about universities, policymakers, employers, public servants. And luckily in Finland nowadays, since 2018, we have had different organization, the talent boost agenda from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Employment, that is also injecting a lot of money into different services in Finland to better integrate socially and also professionally international talents. So this is something I wanted you to briefly understand. But now to the meat of what we want to talk today is like, what are the solutions? We're not focusing on the challenges, we're really focusing on the solutions and how to actually integrate the labor market. So over the years, I have found that there are 5 different steps that you can use to both integrate the labor market with traditional ways, but also tapping into the hidden job market. And here it goes. Find your niche, set goals and a plan of action, build a network, find your voice, and activate and engage regularly. So now Vismit and I will walk you through all of these and tell you a bit of our own experiences. How did we also manage those challenges and overcome these? But first of all, find your niche. So very often you hear that, but what I'm trying to say here is, what are your strengths? What makes you different from others? So it is actually very difficult already for locals to find employment sometimes, but internationals, we need to make a little extra step, a little extra work to do it. So what are your strengths? What can you bring value? How can you differentiate yourself from others? It's really funny because in employer branding, we are really trying to find out what is the employer's value proposition. But what I'm asking you here, finding your niche, is actually defining what is your own proposition. What is your own value proposition? What can you bring to the table? So once you have done that, moving to another country is actually the perfect timing to figure out a goal. Where are you at in your current situation? Is it time to change field? Did I like what I was doing? And then reflect on your new wishes. And to find out what are your goals, I really like the SMART goal technique. You can Google it. You'll find plenty of different activities, exercises to do it. But it's basically to figure out specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely goals. So basically, once you have defined what is it that I want, then make a plan. Make plan A, make plan B, make plan C, but make it into a timeline. What do I need to actually do to achieve my goal? Is it that I need to further my education? I want to apply to a master's degree. Well, when is the deadline? What do I need to do to actually apply? What documents do I need to gather? Do I want to learn the Finnish language? Up until which level do I want to learn? And then increase my network up to 1,000 people on LinkedIn, for example. But what you have to reflect on, what your plan should include, is research your industry in the Finnish context. So your field. I'm an engineer. In engineering field, what is it? What is the current market? What do I need? Do I have gaps in my CV or gaps in my skill set? If I do, well, I need to go and further on with different courses, different competence development to actually close those gaps. And then also learn the Finnish language or any of the Nordic language you are in, at least to a basic level, to understand what is happening around me when I'm at the coffee table with my colleagues, for example. And then build your CV, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, according to the Finnish or any of the Nordic countries you are in. What is appealing to the country, the Finnish eyes, the Danish eyes in the working market, and then increasing your network. So once you have your plan, these are really important. Now, Vismit is going to walk you through the what, how, and where.
Thank you. So thank you, Karel, for actually sharing so many golden nuggets. While preparing the presentation with you, I learned so much in this. And I think my favorites have been the research on the Finnish, how Finland as a country is, what you need to integrate, but also the most favorite one is the integration is a bi-directional process. And I really follow it, and I really take it very seriously. It's a bi-directional process. It has to be mutually, and if we are giving 100%, the other party also has to give 100%, and also to stay motivated in this market. That's the other important thing I've learned in this journey. So thank you so much. Let's now focus on what you need to do to find employment in this job market. You would have heard this, you would have attended many sessions, you would have, you know that by now that you need to build your CV, you need to build your cover letter. I'm not going to tell you something different, but as from my personal experience, what I have learned in Denmark market and in Finland market, even both these markets are slightly different from each other, but I have realized that having a CV customized as per the job advertisement and the cover letter customized or personalized as per the job advertisement is the most important step in getting a call for an interview or getting visible in this market from the interviewer or employer perspective. So definitely try your hands, be more creative, make a visual CV. You have different resources here. You can refer Canva. If you don't want to refer Canva, then you can make your own template. Be as creative as you can. One thing I've noticed is don't make a 2-column CV. That's what a feedback I've got from someone in Finland, because it's pretty confusing. Finns are pretty easy and simple people. So the CV has to be pretty simple, specific, in bullet points, so that it's easy to understand. Write a summary. Summary is important. That shows your motivation. That shows what are you looking for. It has to be 2 to 3 statements. Include your core competencies. Add a photo. It's not a mandatory requirement, but it always gives an edge. The employer would know, or the recruiter would know, at least have an idea about the person. But if you're not comfortable, I would say that don't add a photo. CV has to be 1 to 2 pages max. You can also create a CV infographics. I have created video CV infographics. So I have tried my hands and tried to think what this market will need. So you can just try whatever ways you want, make it little creative, and reference as requested. You're not you do not add your age, religion, marital status, and full address, because it's as per the GDPR compliant. You don't need to add these details, and neither will it change anything. Coming to the cover letter, I always feel that the cover letter has to be 3 paragraphs or at max 4 paragraphs. You don't have to put a lot of information in the cover letter. Again, what Karel mentioned, I would say that the cover letter has to have the star format. It has to put some concrete examples. The paragraphs needs to be defining. The first paragraph need to be mentioning about your passion, motivation, why you are the perfect candidate. The second paragraph should focus upon your experience, what you bring to the table to the company, highlighting with concrete examples in that paragraph. And the third paragraph need to explain your soft skills related to the position, your personality, what as a person you are. And the CV and cover letter need not to be a duplicate copy of each other. It has to mention something different, which is not mentioned in the CV. And always ideal to use the same words in the job description. In Denmark, the recruiters always referred the cover letter. They looked at the cover letter first and then the CV. But when I came to Finland, I learned that the CV is the first document they refer, and then if they feel interested, then they read your cover letter. And believe me, the recruiters just have few seconds. They use the ATS systems and the tools, and they put the keywords. So it's always advisable to put the keywords that has been mentioned or tally it with the same language as in the job description. Now, how do you stand out? Everybody is learning this, everybody is implementing this, but how do you stand out of everyone who has come to find a job in this market? get familiar with the application system. What I was mentioning about in earlier was use the keywords. That's the first thing. Use the keywords in the job description, as the job description mentions. So search engines are using these keywords. So it's always advisable to know what this application system is, and then make your CV and cover letter accordingly. You can also apply with your LinkedIn profile. To be very honest, I have never done that. I always use the traditional way of applying through the CV and cover letter, but it would save time. That's what I assume. But again, your LinkedIn profile has to be updated so that the recruiter or the hiring manager can refer that and have all the information from your LinkedIn profile. As I already mentioned, it has to be, each application in CV and cover letter has to be personalized. You cannot make one generic CV and cover letter and then post it and apply with that and then wait, and then get a rejection email and get disheartened that why I was not selected. What I've noticed in the country I come from and these countries, that they look for your motivation, passion, and interest more than your skills and experiences, because that you can learn. But what they want to see is what kind of person you are. Are you fitting into their values? Are you fitting into the team? What you bring to the table additionally, which is your unique selling competencies, as Karel mentioned. So we have our USPs, and every person in this world is different. They have one or two unique set of competencies. So you have to leverage on that. Call the hiring manager during the open times. To be very honest, I was very nervous. I never did that in Denmark, and I did that once, and I got a feedback. So I applied to one role, and in the second interview when I went, the interviewers immediately identified that, oh yeah, you called us. So I have set an impression in their mind, and in the second interview they were already aware that I called, because not everyone has the guts and courage to pick up the phone and call and ask about the role. It takes a lot of guts, to be very honest. And I also learned in my journey that it would make me stand out of the crowd. Don't ask the same question which is mentioned in the job advertisement. Always ask some different questions, focusing either on the company, the values, the job, which is beyond what is mentioned in the website or in the job advertisement. And don't expect that if you don't get shortlisted or get interviewed or hired in that company, then that was a waste of time. So that's what we need to understand, working on our attitude. What you learn out of this is definitely that you can build a connection on LinkedIn. You can always politely ask that, can we connect on LinkedIn? And you never know, it's a very, very small market, and you never know, you can find your dream job via this person or in that company through the same person. But the other thing is, you will save your time if they feel that, okay, Finnish language is required, or this is the important criteria, then you will save your time and energy and you'll not apply to the role. So I always follow the step of calling the hiring manager during the open time. So practice your interviewing skills. You should know what you are talking about. You should know the company, the values, the motivation. You should do a thorough research. You should spend some time. You should know your motivation. Is this the job for you? It's not necessary that you are desperate and you're looking for a job, then you can just apply, because interviewers are very smart and they would gauge that skill of yours, that you are just trying to find a job, but that's not what you are interested in. Know the value, know your core competencies, soft skills, hard skills, technical skills, what you bring to the company. And I think the best one is stay genuine, because if you're not authentic, you're not genuine, that it's going to be visible. I did that in my initial times in Finland. I was desperate in finding a job, and that was clearly evident on my face, that I'm just desperate and I need a job. The time I started just let going and giving my best shot, and I was my own self, then I landed in a job. So practice, practice, practice. Another important thing I want to add in this quickly is, you learn from everyone in this world. I learned from my physiotherapist in Denmark. When I told her that I'm going for an interview, she told me that Indians have a way of speaking very fast in English. So Vismith, just remember, speak slowly. It takes time for us to understand the English. And from that day onwards, I started implementing this tip. So each and every person will teach you something here. Building your LinkedIn profile, you would know that you can brand yourself. In Finland, LinkedIn is your main document which everybody would refer. So you should always keep your LinkedIn profile very updated. Again, adding a picture definitely gives a slight idea about the person and their what kind of person is this. Adding a banner like open for job, looking for work is a banner I used, and it really helped me. Summary, title, everything has to be very specific. You need to write a summary, also not very long summary, but maybe short summary, talking about your motivation, personality, also about your keywords, because again, in LinkedIn, when we search for any candidate, we put keywords, and those keywords, if they are in your CV, then we pick up the application and pick up or approach the candidate. And then ask for reference, recommendation. It's always good people you would have worked, if you would have your teacher in Finnish language, some or other references or contacts in the local market is important. So you can always ask for recommendation or reference. We've seen what we need to do, how we can stand out in this job market, but now we will see where we find these, what are the channels where we find these jobs. So Karel, if you could take that.
Yes, thank you, Vismit. I just wanted to add also something that is really important with those CV, cover letters, LinkedIn. It's really to tailor it to each position that you're applying. So with the keywords, but also with your motivation, etc., it really needs to be tailored each time that you're applying for a position. And then to go on with the experience of calling hiring managers, every time I have called, I basically got an interview. And why is that? And what does it do when you call during the open hours? Is that they have recruiters and hiring managers, they have a pile of CVs. And as soon as you call, they actually have to take physically your CV out of the pile. So this is a way to stand out. So this is just a little trick that I wanted to also kind of reinforce that Vismit has been talking about. But very good tips. Thank you very much. And let's have a look at where can we actually look for employment. Well, LinkedIn is one of the best places in Finland to look for employment. You actually can set in the job settings to have different what type of jobs are you looking for, and in which area, which location, and then you get some alerts. So I get alerts every day, basically, in the settings that I have been putting for myself, according to my education, my interest, and my field. There's the traditional way to look at job boards. So jobs in Finland, for example, now they have changed their algorithm, and it's dragging all the English-speaking jobs on different websites all the way to their own. So this
I think we lost Karel.
Yeah, I thought it's my network. Yeah, I think we lost Karel. Yeah.
Yeah, it does appear that way. Vismit, would you be able to continue in the meantime?
Yes, I would. So Karel was talking about the jobs in Finland, which is integrated with other job sites here in Finland, and now it's using English language. Then you have Monster, you have Dunitori, Tomarkentori, Oikotai, Ediko. Sorry for my pronunciation. I'm not very good till in Finnish pronunciation. Ediko, the Hub, CareerJet, Job Portal, Barona. These are the few job boards you can refer and use and find the jobs posted here. Then there is the CV gallery, Tampere Talent, Point of Potential. I know specifically about Point of Potential that they do have the database, and you can just sign up and log in, and then add your profile there, and then they have clients or customers, and then they share your profile, they interview you, they ask your interest, your experience, and then they just recommend your profile to the clients they have. And then there are services. I was registered with TEI Toimisto. I have not used Meet Frank or academic work, but I was registered with TEI Toimisto as everyone else. Though it didn't help me that much, but I was attending a lot of sessions related to the job market. They always schedule. So I was using that. Then there are these competency development centers. I know one in Espoo. I don't know about Saarinen and MOOC, and that's why Karel was about to tell more about it, but I hope when she's back, then she can touch upon these CV gallery and competency development for you guys. Yeah, this was supposed to be done by Karel, as she has prepared for it. So I think can we wait for Karel, because I hope she's able to join. Maybe we'll wait. Otherwise, we can ask her. I can take care of it. But yeah, this was to be taken care by Karel. I think we'll wait for another minute or so if she's not able to. I don't know what the issue is.
I can also jump onto this. This is something that we've been talking quite a bit, so I can actually continue from the hidden job market. So the quite interesting statistics that we have in Finland about the job market is that we estimate that around 60 to 70% of all the jobs are not advertised anywhere. So this means that, like, when you see those jobs on on LinkedIn or you see them on Oikotie or Monster or wherever, that is only about 20 to 30% of all the jobs. So this means that this 60 to 70% or 70 to 80%, we even estimate, those jobs are never advertised, and they're only filled through headhunting or through networks or through another way of, like, when people connect to each other. And this is why it is so important that you tap into that hidden job market. Because when you imagine that you're applying for a job and you find that job ad on Oikotie or on LinkedIn, you're not the only applicant. So it means that there are different applicants applying for the same job. So you might even have, like, you might compete with like 500 people. But when you are searching and finding those hidden jobs, it might be that you're the only applicant, or you might compete with 5 people. So it is a very, very different competition to be in when you have 500 competitors or when you have 5 competitors. And I believe we have Karel back. So Karel, feel free to continue about the hidden job market.
Yeah, sorry, I was kicked out of the meetings. So technologies. Yes, I'm actually not sure until where Sophia has kind of digged into the subject.
So Karel, for your reference, so I have taken care about LinkedIn and job boards. Maybe if you can talk more about CV gallery services, competency development, and then we can jump on hidden jobs.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I think I stopped at Pointers Potential, which is a very good company that actually focuses on finding employment for internationals. So their clients are looking to have diverse background talents. So this is a very good way to go on their website, and then you can add also your CV there. And there's obviously different services available, the unemployment office. There's an app called Meet Frank that you can utilize. There's other services like academic work, for example. For short-term courses for competence development, there are different options like Saranen or MOOC, for example. These are only options. These are the most relevant that I have found both personally and professionally over the time when I have been helping other internationals to find employment in Finland. So this is just like a list. There are other possibilities and availabilities also. But where is actually the most important is tapping into the hidden jobs market. So now we talked about the traditional way to apply to a position, and just for your knowledge, only 20 to 30% of jobs are actually available for the eyes to see. So that means that close to 80% are actually hidden. So you need to be able to navigate the hidden jobs market to actually find those jobs. And one characteristic of the hidden job market is that companies are not necessarily aware of their needs. So if we're talking mostly about startups, small SMEs, then they don't really have the time to actually go into like full recruitment or finding out what is actually their need and what that need would be translated as an open position. So they don't necessarily know their needs until they find you. But in order to find you, you need to be seen. So you need to be out there. We need to be able to see, hey, who is Vismit? What does she have to offer? What is her value proposition? And then, oh, she exists. Because before that, we don't know. And it is actually the most effective way to find employment. From both the company's perspective, designing a position based on someone's skill set and their need is actually much better to have the perfect match than just scrolling through different resumes and then you kind of like figure out, okay, this could be a potential perfect match, etc. So you have to be able to show your worth. But how to do that? Let's get into building your network. Building your network is extremely important. And building your network online, LinkedIn is your best friend, really. This is the way people are referring to. It is the perfect way to actually increase your network of people. And something is, you never underestimate the power of networks, because it only takes one lead. It only takes one person. And that person can be online, but that person can also be part of your hobbies. You know, it can be your tennis player that knows that person that is in the same field, and then they will connect you. So connections are extremely important. But how to increase your network? So always add a personal note when you're actually connecting with someone. Follow companies of interest. So if you're looking at working for the Framery, for example, well, start following the Framery. Start looking at, well, who are the people working at that company? Connect with them slowly. Then start liking their posts, start commenting on them, so they actually get to have an interaction with you without having met you yet. So after that, connect also, we discussed about this, but connect with the recruiters or the hiring manager after applying for a position. Add a personal note. Hey, I have just applied for the position. I have this and this interest. It would be lovely to meet you, or it would be lovely to connect and with your name. Always engage. And this is something that a lot of people that I have been talking with, it is not part of their cultural background, for example, or only their personality to kind of brag about themselves and to be really out there. But there are ways to kind of navigate it without bragging and without making a fuss about it. But what is important is to constantly engage, like and comment. If you want, you can try to find your voice. This is something we're going to look after, but try to find your voice. Post different things 2 or 3 times a week. Usually the best way is between Tuesday and Thursday. Always utilize a picture. It doesn't have to be a picture of you, but it can be a picture of anything, can be related to what you're talking about. It can be a link that you're adding, etc. Add hashtags, usually between 3 and 5, and then different emojis also works. Now we're talking about the LinkedIn algorithm. What is the best way to actually get the most reach with your posts? So this is covering basically the online, but really start building on your network is what I would, if you can remember one thing from our talk today, is that build your network. There are ways to do it online, but also offline. Did you have Vismit, something to say?
I was just going to add to this, never underestimate the power of networks. I've learned that very closely here in Finland. And somebody told me, I don't remember who, but someone told me initially when I moved that if you connect with one person, this one person knows the other person, and that's how you then build and expand your network. And I realized wherever there was this talent acquisition specialist or recruiter role, in that post, if somebody posted that job, 3 of my contacts used to tag me in the comments. So I was becoming very visible, and people knew that, okay, talent acquisition specialist job, so Wismith is the right person. So I was getting into the eyes of the recruiter or the hiring manager by that. So as Karel mentioned, definitely never underestimate the power of networks, just to add on to this.
Well, that's a very good point. And yeah, I think to add to that also, this is basically how I got my current position. And this is something we're going to look at numbers also as compared to how many traditional position I have applied to as compared to tapping into the hidden jobs market. And these are really extremely important into elevating yourself, also being visible in Finland. Offline ways of actually building your network. Of course, Corona has kind of changed a bit the way we are doing things and dealing with face-to-face events, etc. But go to different events, join communities. In Finland, there are a lot of communities that you can be part of, and that you will both build that social connection, this emotional connection with people. You remember at the beginning, I told that it's really important to build both professional network, but also social network to really kind of anchor yourself here. Some communities you can join: the Shortcut, Nordic Inclusified, International Working Women and Men of Finland, Helsinki Spouse Program, the Lucan Integration, for example. But this is just a small list. There are very many communities that you can join to actually get to know people. And something that is, I think, peculiar to Finland or to the Nordics is volunteering is actually a very good way to find employment. Because something that you have to understand is Finland is a community based on trust. And now that you don't yet have an experience, for example, the trust is not yet built. So once you just need to have basically your first experience, your first step into the Finnish company door. And to do that, volunteering is one of a very, very good way. So what I hear very often is, well, Karel, I have a PhD. I don't want to go and volunteer. And then what you can think of is it's only a short period of time. And then after that, opportunities are kind of like really increasing. I'll give you an example. This is how my journey in Finland has started. I took part into the Finnish language course, and then I did an internship. And this is where I started to build my network. And then when I actually landed my first job after my internship, it was because of that experience. And the recruiter really told me, it's because you have had this volunteering experience in this specific company that we're hiring you now. Obviously, in addition to the competence and the value proposition I had to add, but this is really important. And it's a very good way to actually start having your first experience in Finland. Finding your voice. Now we talked about posting on LinkedIn, but a lot of people are saying, yeah, but I don't know what to say. I don't know where to start. And something that is really good to start with is your own story. How did you become the professional you are now? What experience in your life previous to what the point you are at actually made who you are? What competence have you learned through those experiences? Have you moved countries? What have you learned in this specific position? What have you learned, etc.? So telling your story. Just start by telling bits and parts of your story is a very good way to start with. And then you have to figure out, what do you actually talk about after your story? Well, we are all professional in our field. Find that specific niche that we discussed earlier and talk about that. What do you have to add to the subject, etc. And then once you start building your audience, what does your audience want to hear? I'll give you an example. I'm actually very active on LinkedIn. And then when I post about professional knowledge, what I have learned so far in my specific field, etc., my audience react. But it does not react as much as when I talk about my own experience as a foreigner in Finland, how to find employment, How do I raise my children that are half Finnish, half Canadian in this country, in the Finnish context? My audience really reacts to that. So I have learned over the years, over the months, on how to actually target what I'm talking about to have more reach. And then also build on your personal brand is really important. But building your personal brand is something that I'm going to go about in the next slide. But something that you have to remember is, again, just talk. Don't stop talking. Tell to the world that you're looking for employment and what is your value. And then you will, trial and error. As I mentioned, I have learned over the years that when I talk about this subject, it doesn't have as much reach as another type of subject. So you just kind of navigate the world like this.
Just to quickly add on what you need to post or finding your voice on LinkedIn while posting, what I've been hearing from different people who are not comfortable in putting anything on LinkedIn. Some people don't have a lot of connections. They're not good in connecting with the right people. So I think what I advise them, or what I personally do, is if I'm interested, for example, in diversity, equity, inclusion, or if I read any kind of article on recruitment, then I try to rephrase it and maybe share that article, but put my voice in that post and then share with the audience. So find a topic which interests you, find a personality which interests you, and then try to make something. If you are not good in creating a post, I'm not good in creating my own content. I'm very bad in that, but at least I use what is already shared, and then I try to put something in my own words. And then, so for the audience, if you're nervous, if you don't know what to write, just follow that tip, and it would make you visible, and you would have some connections and questions and activity running around in your post. So that's another good way. Sorry, Karel, for jumping in.
No, this is a very good point, and something actually that now made me think, if you're not so comfortable, and I meet a lot of people are not so comfortable just starting posting, etc., you can always reshare and then rewrite like through your own eyes what you've seen, something that touches you, something that you feel relevant, and then you kind of just rewrite in your own words what it is about. So basically the idea is just to become visible in this world. And then building your personal brand is kind of part of what we all talked about today. By finding your niche, building up your goals, and finding your voice, building your network. But what is a personal branding? Basically, is the conscious and intentional effort of creating or influencing the public perception, and basically positioning yourself as a professional in your industry. And this is basically all what we talked about today. and it's creating that credibility, creating that trust that you're trying to build in Finland with the community among other professionals. But so basically, follow the previous steps, everything we talked about earlier to build on your brand, and add the little spices below. So stay authentic. Authority, meaning that you talk about your professional and your core competence. Aspiration, what motivates you? What are you looking for? Affinity, make it personal. Talk about your own experiences, your own journey, your own story. And artisana, basically try to make it sound as good as you can. Make it personal in a very different way. How do you differ from others? So this is basically how you build your own brand. I think now it's time to kind of get into more concrete examples of how did we navigate through those practical tips that we have just mentioned through our own stories. Vismit.
Thank you. Yeah, so lot of good information for me as well in this market. I didn't get that much time to explore this market like Karel, but in whatever limited time I had in Finland, And the blessing was I stayed in Denmark and I was struggling to find a job. So I was very well prepared when I was moving in Finland that it's going to again take 2 to 3 years to find a job. So I came with that mindset, and I've already explored the Nordic countries. So I was pretty aware what I need to do, what are my steps. So I moved to Finland in 2020, not a good time. It was COVID when COVID started, and it was an era of virtual meetings. So I always met people in person in Denmark, but then now I have to change or switch that to the virtual setup, which definitely is not easy. I'm a people person. I like meeting in person, but all of a sudden I have to be prepared and I have to set or switch myself to the virtual setting, which I was nervous in the beginning. So as I mentioned, I moved from Copenhagen, Denmark, after living in Denmark for approximately 3 years. While moving to Finland, what I did was I started connecting with people on LinkedIn. From the talent acquisition and HR background, I started connecting, telling, not just connecting, but adding a personalized note that I'm moving to Finland. So and so I would like to understand this market. I would like to learn and stay connected with you. And I used to click the connect button, and then I think out of 10 connections, I think almost everyone accepted my invite, replying me back that welcome to Finland. And I think that word made me realize that I'm entering a good country, because in Denmark, nobody accepted my invitation. There were very rare few people who accepted my LinkedIn invitation. Forget about replying me back that, okay, welcome to Denmark, let's connect. So that is one thing. I don't know if it was my luck or what was different in this approach, but it really helped me. So personalized invite is always a good way, and you don't have to always tell the person that you want a job. You should always be curious and keen in learning from each and every person you meet, because there's so much to learn from everyone. When I moved here, I learned the Finnish language. As like everyone, when you come here, you get registered to TE office. They just told me language is the only route. And later on, I came to know from someone that there's another route called as job market trainings. So you can just leave the language thing, and then you can quickly jump in and find a fast track job market kind of employment here. I didn't know about it, and I had to wait for. I moved in June. My classes started in October. But then I was not wasting my time in that period. I was just being out in this market, connecting with a lot of people. I was attending whatever seminar, webinar, session, events. I come to know all virtually, but I never used to leave a single opportunity of connecting with people or learning from people in this market. I was pretty active on LinkedIn. I would say that could be because of my experience in Denmark that has made me realize that it's important to network here. So I learned the Finnish language, but I was also exploring and integrating and networking and learning new things, joining new communities, as Karel mentioned, finding about the diversity, equity, inclusion work groups. So I joined those work groups. I also pursued the leadership and change management short-term course from Aalto. So my course and my Finnish class started at the same time. But before that, I was clear that I would be developing my skills. It's an ongoing thing. I have an experience of 10 plus years from India. I have a master's degree, a bachelor's in computer science, but I never thought that I should not learn, because knowledge is something you need to upgrade yourself. So I found about this course, and then I enrolled for it, and then I took this course, and I really enjoyed, because there also I network with many people, some people from industry, some students from Aalto University, and it was a great course. I was building my network, as I mentioned, by joining different communities. So International Working Women of Finland, I came to know through my connection. So I joined that network. Indian Women of Finland, then Spouse Program is another community which I joined. I did internship of 3 weeks as part of my Finnish language course A2.2 in Finder Seekers. And there I got the real actual market or job market experience in the Finnish market. I built a lot of good connections. I learned a lot. I'm very happy with that experience, because I know that there are good people, and I was prepared that this market is going to be good for me and easy for me. It's not difficult to find a job now. I know people who trust my competencies, who have seen me working and seen my personality. I also volunteered in 3 different nonprofit organizations to increase my DI knowledge that time. So my husband used to mockingly always say that you are more busier than me. So I always tell him it's a full-time job. Finding a job here is a full-time job. And I think I was more busier than him having a full-time job. I was always on meetings, and it was 7.5 hours, 8 hours in a day I used to spend, including applications and every other thing. So that helped me landing a job in 9 months. I don't forget my struggles in Denmark. It took 2.5 years there. I understood that market, but in Finland, it was a very, very smooth journey. I don't know what was the reason. My learnings helped me then implement and execute it from day one here in Finland, but it took 9 months. I always applied traditionally. I never applied in the smart way, as Karel mentioned. So 30 applications I sent, I got 10 interviews, and in the end, I was offered 3 jobs, and I had to choose the job. But all the 3 jobs were related to my field. It was just what I wanted to do or what aligned with my motivation and interest. Long term is what I chose. And I got first interview call within 1 month of moving to Finland. So it was in Aalto University. I got an interview call for HRD specialist role, and there the manager said, "Yeah, you called and asked me some good questions." So yeah, calling the hiring manager is important. I participated in pilot mentorship program by Indian Women of Finland. I got a mentor, and she taught me many things. I was desperate finding a job, and my performance in the interviews were lacking because of that, because the desperation was shown. I was not myself. So she told me, just be authentic. You have a unique selling proposition, which nobody, or competency, which no one else have. So Vismit is a unique personality, and she has some set of personality. You just need to showcase that and be natural as you are. So that really helped me. I created video CV for pitching competition. Believe me, it was not an easy task. I never ever created a video CV in my life, but I participated in the spouse program for pitching competition, and I went out of my comfort zone, and I then created this video CV. And my employer, my colleague from one team, a people's team, she was part of that program, and she heard me. And then when the job at Relics was opened, she just commented that, Vismit Chawla, this job might be you. And that's the story now. So that's how I started interacting with the recruiter or colleague who posted the job. So yeah, joining all those communities which Karel mentioned is really important. You never know. It's a very, very small market. So you never know what would help you finding a job. And I would say that what I feel is, what I've learned in this market, that I have realized that I was keen to learn and integrate. So I think that's one thing we lack. We always come with that negative notion, this market will not give me anything. In India, you have different regions. If you go to any other region, that market is similarly different. So it's one region is equivalent to one Finland. So I realized that if I have to integrate, I have to show 200% or more efforts than anyone else who's been here in this market. So I have to be curious to learn about this country and from people for smooth integration. And that's how I always used to write in my personalized note that I would like to learn from you. And I'm till date doing it. It's not that I have a job, but I'm still able to do that because I want to learn in talent acquisition or diversity, equity, inclusion arena from how people are doing, what they are doing differently, what I can learn. So I think it's very important for us to remember that we need to be keen in learning and integrating in this market and show that extra effort that you now have come to a country, you'll be staying here, you have to find a job, you have to build your own network. So you need to be very keen and just be curious, ask questions, learn. I've realized if you ask somebody, okay, what can I learn? How your day looks like? People are very happy that you're asking them and they're ready to share their inputs. Keep the motivation. I had my ups and downs. I have got rejections initially when I moved here. Every time I used to go to the second interview and then not reaching the final interview and I got rejection. I used to be frustrated. As a human being, we all get frustrated. We feel that why are we not getting selected? What is missing? But then in this journey, you need to keep the motivation. I started doing meditation. I started analyzing what lagged, what missed in my interviewing skills, if I was not giving a concrete example, if my desperation was clearly shown. So I started analyzing what went wrong, and then I started working on those. But many a times there are no reasons. It might be not fitting to your competencies. So the companies also don't have reasons many a time, and you get a generalized email. So just ignore. Then I used to follow this mantra, which I will share with all of you. I always say this to myself: I am the best, leave the rest. If you follow this, you would crack anything in this world. So that's what I do. In anything I do, I say, I am the best, leave the rest. I'll give my best, but I'll leave the rest. Something, it is bound to happen, it will happen. What experiential strategies I followed? As Karel has already mentioned, I did the same, finding my niche and passion. I'm a computer science engineer. People have told me, change your field. You will get a job easily in IT. You can do some certifications, but I have always been doing recruitment. That's my passion. That is clearly visible on my face. So I felt that I would follow my passion and what I have already experienced. I would develop in these skills if this market requires something for me to develop. I mentioned earlier, I found creative ways of standing out from others, like I created video CVs, CV infographics, etc. The other thing or important thing I learned is it's not important to only build your network, but maintaining and sustaining your network is also important. So it's not that I got a job, now I'm not on LinkedIn, I'm not connecting with people, I'm not liking their post. I don't do that because it's a small market. Again, you never know. And there's so much to learn in this market from each other. I still attend a lot of sessions, though I have a job, because I need to learn. It's an ongoing thing. Understand the market requirements, skill gap, and develop your competencies. So as I mentioned, I thought of learning about diversity, equity, inclusion, and how do I do that? So I volunteer, be around the community with that mindset, or who is more aware about this topic, being around the recruitment professionals, so how others are doing recruitment in their companies. And I always connect in LinkedIn with a personalized note till date. So if I attend any kind of event, then I send a connection request with a personalized note, because many a times I get the connection request, and if it is people with the same background, then I accept it without the personalized note. But otherwise, I feel that why would I connect to someone I don't know? They have not sent a personalized invite. So how do I relate to that person, or what that person needs to gain out of me by connecting with me? So just to increase my network, I don't do that. So always connect in LinkedIn with a personalized note. Stay authentic. This has been my all-time favorite. Stay true to yourself and set your own limits, what you're good at, what you want to do. Yeah, that's pretty much what I learned in this market.
Thank you, Vismit. That was really, really good tips that you have mentioned through your personal experience. If we look at my own story, I have quite an interesting story, because well, I moved to Finland in 2012, so almost 10 years ago. It was a very different Finland at that time, meaning that well, Finland in general is still very new to immigration, and 10 years ago it was even newer. So there wasn't very much services or anything in place. Companies were not really aware of the benefits of hiring internationals yet, and so on. So there was not really many positions, in other words, available for non-Finnish speakers. So it took me 3 years to find employment. And you know the circle I mentioned you at the beginning, that when you have so many rejections and then you kind of really get your motivation low. Well, I was there. I was there for very long, just thinking Finland I don't want to stay here. I want to go back to Canada. This is not for me, and etc. Until the point I decided that, hey, I want to be part of the solution. I basically changed my mindset, and I really tried to find ways of keeping my motivation up. How I did that also is, I mentioned, you try to celebrate small successes is really important. Even if you don't get the job, but you are being called to an interview, for example, then yes, celebrate this. Or someone is asking you to go share a coffee, for example, for the first time. Yes, celebrate this. So very small things to celebrate. Really try to keep your motivation up. But what did I do basically during that time that changed for me to actually get integrated into the Finnish labor market? Well, I'm from Canada. In Canada, we have bachelor's degrees, and then you get very good career with a bachelor. So once I moved to Finland with my bachelor, nearly graduated, very happy that I had like huge prospects back in Canada. Arriving here, I understood that with my bachelor, I basically cannot find employment. So I applied to a master's degree, and then I furthered my studies in intercultural communication. And then I also learned the Finnish language. So for me, learning the Finnish language is not only being able to communicate with people, it's also being able to understand why the Finnish people behave the way they behave. Because through the language, you basically understand the roots of everything. And that really helped me to kind of very integrate also the society in general to a next level. I did an internship at Business Tampere that actually really opened up my network and so on. And I basically, over the years, also became a Finnish citizen. So these are the steps that I followed to actually find employment during that time. Another interesting kind of a perspective is that I experienced a layoff also. So I had to again find employment. So basically at the end of 2021, I got laid off from my current position, and I was like, okay, well now again, I have to find my way into the Finnish labor market. And so I was unemployed for 3 months and 21 days. And what did I do during that time, and what actually helped me to find employment? So I applied to 23 traditional applications, which led to 7 interviews, and I didn't get any offers from there. And during the whole time, I was really worried about on LinkedIn that my need, I'm looking for employment, etc. So I kind of get myself visible during that time a lot. So I tapped into basically 6 different companies, 6 hidden jobs. So I was contacted by 6 companies on LinkedIn, which led to 11 interviews and then 3 offers. And I had to choose at the end between those 3 offers. I also had to actually end 3 discussions before, like when I actually found the perfect match. But just to let you know, like basically this is the post that I had made that got a lot of reach and really got me into tapping into the hidden jobs market because I was visible. So people were contacting me, hey, Corel, I saw your post and I like what I see. Can we talk? This is basically how it actually got me the job I have at the moment. So what I have learned over the years, expectation management is extremely important when you think that you integrating a new country will happen very quickly and everything is going to be happy, etc. You might have an excellent integration very quick, but you might also face those challenges that we talked about. Your motivation might also get low, and by having realistic expectation actually really helped me to kind of understand, researching the market, understand what is the current situation and how do I place myself in that situation. Keep the motivation. We talked about it both very often. Something that I would like to add to this is Finland is a land of opportunities. Have you noticed how small the country is, how easy it is to connect with people in the sense that there's not that many people. So I've always been saying that you can get very famous in Finland if you want to, because it's a small country, but it's a land of opportunities. So basically what you need to do is just harvest it. If you don't find what you're looking for, build it, or try to, integrate into the little cracks to actually find your way. Experiential strategies, now it is just what we have basically been talking about over the whole presentation. Something I want to add is being active and engaging is really important. It's not just by sitting in your home and staying in your mindset that nothing is working, that you're going to find employment. You need to engage. You need to be out there. You need to be active. And again, we'll stay authentic to yourself and set your own limits. you know, when I arrived in 2012, basically the only thing I could do was going for cleaning jobs, and this was my limit. I told myself, I am not going to go there. I need to find work in my own field, and I stick to it. So every people have their own limits, and then listen to your own limits as well. So I hope this session has really kind of brought you different perspective, brought you hope also that there are ways to find employment, there are ways to connect with people and to find your own way here. So I think, Vismit, do you have something else you would like to add before we go into the questions?
I would say that stay connected, learn from everyone, show keenness and curiosity, and then you can connect with us. So we are happy to help you and share our experience in this market. I really enjoy doing that because I really want to help the people here and change their attitude and mindset, because it's a tough market, but I always say it's not impossible to find a job. So just on an ending note, it's a challenging market, but not impossible. Thank you so much, Karel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vismit and Karel. Amazing tips. I think we all got some really good like practical tips from this session. Feel free to use the chat for any questions. We have some time for the questions. So we had a first question here that when searching for a job in Germany and the UK, I was specifically advised to delete my photo from my CV. Is it really important to include photo for applications in Finland?
I might actually give you an example. I totally understand where you're coming from. For example, in Canada, we really do not put pictures. And when I came to Finland, I was like, I am never going to put a picture on my CV. This is my own limit. It goes into discrimination, because this is what I was taught back in Canada. And then for a couple of months, I tried without the picture, and with no success, basically. And as soon as I added a picture, then I started to be contacted by people. So as Vismit also mentioned, I don't think, if you don't feel comfortable putting a picture, don't add it. It's fine. But I would totally recommend that you add a picture. Yes.
And then there's another question. So what about the candidates who are outside of EU and wish to apply in EU countries? So what they often face is that the companies are like, well, do you have a valid working visa for EU?
Maybe I can take that first. So yeah, relocation is an option, but only for the IT roles. That's a hard reality, or maybe that's a niche where Finland lacks, and that's how we are open to relocate or provide relocation support to people who are with the IT background or some skills which are not easily available talent here in Finland. For other roles, we already have a bigger pool here. There are people from business competencies, so it's difficult then to go and then hire people outside Finland, because there's a relocation cost. So yeah, I would say that if you have certain niche or hard to find skill, then it is easy to get a job in Finland, because more companies are now becoming open in terms of providing relocation support. Yeah.
And then there was one more question about well, not one more, there's actually many, but do you have any recommendations on how to find hiring managers nowadays? So a lot of companies are operating sub-offices in regional cities without specific HR staff. Who should we contact directly if there isn't a particular person responsible for hiring?
Vismit, do you want to take that one? Or
that's a very interesting question. Yeah. I myself have not done that, so I was just thinking about it. But we do have in Relic such job ads, or such countries, smaller countries, where we don't have a recruitment team or a recruiter's help. What we do is either we put some details, email ID of the hiring manager directly in the job advertisement. Some job advertisement does not have that. Then people have contacted me directly saying that they see that I am working in Relic. So they have approached me saying that this job I found in this country. So can you help or tell me more about the job? So I think from a recruiter's perspective, that's what experience I have in this market, that maybe that's the channel you can find. You have LinkedIn page of these companies, you can find who's the recruiter based and maybe the headquarter, and then you can approach them and write to them asking that you are interested for this country and you don't find any information in the job advertisement, so can they help? It's always, if you ask something, don't assume that people will not help you. There might be one or two such cases, so always ask rather than just making an assumption. So I would say that you can approach through that route of finding the person or people from people's team or recruitment team, and then approaching the hiring manager if their details are not mentioned.
Yeah, I would like to add to this that in Finland, very often, for example, a lot of companies don't have a specific HR department that would help take care of these things. So you basically just have to navigate through the different routes that Vismit have mentioned. Try to find who is the closest person to the position or closest to HR that you could actually find.
And then we had a question for Karel. So did you learn Finnish before enrolling in a master's program, or was your master's in English?
My master's was in English, but I did learn the Finnish language before.
Okay, and then there's still some confusion around to how to tap onto hidden job markets. So would you clarify your own strategy? Does that mean being active on LinkedIn and reaching out, or what does it mean?
Yeah, I think tapping into the job market, the thing is, like, it is not defined really. So I think that's the most difficult part. Like, there's not a place like you can go and search for hidden jobs. As I mentioned, one of the characteristics is that companies are not necessarily aware yet of their need. They are not aware that those jobs are hidden, even for themselves. So the strategy is basically to connect with as many people as possible and to be loud about that you're looking for employment and to be loud about your value proposition. So people actually get to know you, even, or to engage with you, even without knowing that they have a need yet. So, for example, just again, like when I started posting a lot about that I was looking for employment, people would just contact me and say, "Hey, can we have a chat? I really like the way you're thinking, the way you're talking about what you're talking about. Can we talk?" And this is how it kind of developed. Yes, then I started to like really know what is my value proposition, and then hearing what is their need, and then trying to create, okay, this is what I could bring to your need, and then kind of like molding each time according to what I'm capable of bringing to the table and what a company needs. So I think that's why there's still some confusion, because there's no kind of one way of approaching this. But if I would kind of have 2 cents on it, is be out there, be visible, and then build your network a lot and be loud about that you're looking for employment, basically.
Yeah, I think
yeah, sorry,
go
ahead.
Sir. No, please. Please go ahead, Sophia, then I'll add.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, it's kind of turning the whole process around. So it's not like you searching for the jobs, but making the jobs search for you.
Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing. That's a reverse process. So I think what you need to do is you need to, as Karel mentioned, there's no concrete strategy around this. We've been hearing about hidden job, but what you need to do is make a list of the companies which you feel that could align with your interest and motivation, and then tapping or connecting with those relevant people. I've been always told that it's always good to connect with the decision makers or people at a position. And if you're connecting with these people, then you don't have to just write anything. You need to be very well prepared in your draft of communication, what you're going to write, saying more about what you can bring to the table, or knowing more about the company, that what they do they need and what is missing right now, and then sending a personalized message saying that, okay, I come from this background and I think I would help you. For example, if you're an Indian or from Asia, and you can say that, okay, I can bridge or collaborate between these two countries, so I'm ready to help, maybe if there's some project around some topic. So always try to put that very clearly while connecting.
That's very, very good points that made me actually thought of making a list of actually SMEs would actually help you a lot. Those big corporations are much harder to actually find employment for internationals. So try to make a list of companies that really interest you and companies that you know value international background and value diversity. So then you're really able to kind of like really reach to them and then connect with all of these people afterwards.
Thank you. And then sometimes when one fills an application, one is asked for a salary request. How would one know what to answer? And would this be a good question to ask from the recruiter to put oneself on their radar?
Yeah.
Yes. I think these questions are something which was curious in my mind also when I was applying for the job. But I think in Finland you can find at least these information about what are the salary ranges through various resources. I also refer Glassdoor for checking that what the salary range for a talent acquisition specialist. So you can find that field what you're working in, and you can try to find a range, which again will depend on from company to company, because the range what Glassdoor mentions is based on certain surveys or certain people who have mentioned that. So it depends, but when we do recruitments, we always ask that, because so that we set an expectation and it's aligned with what we are offering. Because if that does not fall in our range, then it's a waste of time for you and for us. So resources are there that might give you some information on what salaries you should expect. You should give a salary range. Nobody's asking you to tell exactly that, okay, 4,500 is what I'm looking for, but you should always keep that open, that this is the range what I know from the market and the people I'm connected with, but I'm open to discuss and know what you can offer. So that's the kind of answer I usually give, and I expect the same from people who are open for negotiation, not just having that mind that this is it, otherwise bye-bye. So yeah.
Yeah, I think these tips are very, very good. Search the market again. Try to understand what are the salary ranges here in Finland specifically, or wherever you are, is really important. And then after that, yeah, being open for discussion.
And I think it's especially important if you are changing careers. So, for example, say you have a background in history, master's in history, and then you want to become a developer. And when you are changing jobs, and you have like work experience, like say 15 years from your previous industry, but when you're changing your jobs and you start as a junior software developer, you need to also tell that, like, hey, I'm ready to take the hit in my salary and go for the lower salary. Because very often recruiters see it as like, oh, this person has a long experience, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't align with our our junior software developer role salary. So that's also important. Yeah. Okay. Niels was just saying Glassdoor requires one to sign up and pay, but actually, yeah, thank you. There's a lot of good information. So there's a lot of actually salary information available in Finland. Yeah. So you can type in keskipalkka or like mediaanipalkka and get some really good information. Okay, I think we don't have any further questions from the audience. So I just want to thank Vismit and Karel so much for this session this morning. And thank you everyone who made it here. And I hope you all have a very, very beautiful sunny day ahead of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
All. And
have a good day.
You can definitely connect with us on LinkedIn if you want to.
Yes. Thank you.